Greetings, Salibonani, Linjani, Makadi. Welcome to the Girls Table podcast with your host Ndlovu Primrose as we tackle the topic disenfranchisement of women from standing as presidential candidates. How do societal attitudes and cultural biases contribute to the disenfranchisement of women in presidential elections?
In Zimbabwe, for example, we have an example of Linda Masarira and Fadzai Mahere. Those women, they are constantly criticized and bullied because they're not married. Apparently, in our African culture, if you're not married, especially if as a woman, you are found not worthy or you don't have the value, or apparently you don't have what it takes to be in any position, to be in any sort of like leading position. And I think the other point also is that basically this is a patriarchal society, and both men and women actually underestimate or undermine the how women can also be just as good as men in terms of taking leadership roles. So even women, fellow women, they would not vote for a fellow woman because we have been indoctrinized to think that women are not as good as men. So I think culturally and socially that actually also affects women in terms of presidential elections. The other point as well, I think that we talked about is that women, in terms of, I think it's in relation to the issue of patriarchy, women are just viewed as homemakers, nothing outside that. Like men and women, they just imagine women in homes taking care of kids, being mothers, being wives, nothing more outside that area. Like women are just supposed to be doing those home duties, mothering, being wives, and nothing more. So when a woman tries to venture into the game of politics, people do not see a leader. They see someone who has like sort of deviated, someone who is trying to be devious or out of character, because that's not what apparently we were created for or what we are meant to do. We're not meant to be in leadership positions or to take up any serious roles in government or set on anything outside the homes. Yes.
Hi, Yazizwela. Mostly women, they are not seen as leaders. They are mostly seen as household or mama bendlini. Uthi they cannot do more other than ukuthi bebe ngabantu bendlini begcine imuli. They see that the home is growing, the home is neat. Then how does this disenfranchisement of women in presidential elections impact gender equality and representation in government?
Second one, how does such disenfranchisement of women in presidential elections impact gender equality and representation in government? I think one of the major points that we talked about on this question was that the interest or the rights of women will forever remain undermined because there's no proper representation. Like when you have a head of state as a man, and he is responsible for making policies that affect women, how will he be able to understand what really women need and what women want? So the fact that women are not really found in these influential positions or positions of power, like presidential positions, it limits or it actually reduces the movement of gender equality actually, because we continue to have laws and policies that are made by men that do not reflect the true nature of how women are really living or are really affected, right? And I also think that the other point is that because we don't have women, that idea that women are not equal to men will forever be even instilled in the minds of even younger generations or younger children, because they don't have like an example or somewhere they can like pinpoint that I see we have a woman president, so it's very much possible, or it's actually an existing thing that women actually equal to men, or there is actually an element of gender equality. We actually see even in terms of parliamentary representation or in senatorial representation that we have very few women and a lot of men, right? And yet we see this bunch of men, these men making laws for women. They are not women, but they make laws which relate to women, and then you tend to wonder how that is possible, because they do not understand. They do not understand the whole concept. So I think it's very important that the elements of gender equality and the movement itself is taught and spread, so that there is a progressive realization of the issue of gender equality and representation. Right.
What are some potential solutions or strategies to overcome the disenfranchisement of women in presidential elections? What's your thought?
Potential solutions. One, I think there's need for what can I say, enlightenment or education, especially on part of the community at large. When I say the community, I mean everyone, the fathers, the mothers, the girls themselves, because the reason why we continue to have such mentality that women are not equal to men, or that men are superior to women, is that we have mothers who are training children, who are socializing their children in such a way to believe that we are not equal, right? So it is very important that these women, or even fathers themselves, because they actually, they encourage this idea in the minds of their children that women and girls are not equal. So I think it's very important that everyone in the community is educated in terms of this topic. This topic should be like a topic that should be freely be discussed, even in families, at the boroughs, everywhere. It should be a topic where people really talk about these things, because these things are real, these things are happening. I feel like at some point, everyone is really encouraging the concept of gender inequality. Even women themselves, I feel like, because we have been indoctrinized, we've been taught that we are less than men, we cannot achieve or we cannot do things that men can do. So in our heads, we've already believed it. We have taken it in that we are not equal to men, which is insane. And at the end of the day, we are not married yet, we don't have kids yet, but then when we have our own kids, we continue that cycle and it goes on and on. So I think education and active campaigns, like to have a continuous conversation surrounding the areas of women equality and how we can overcome the disenfranchisement of women in terms of presidential elections. And I think another solution is that there's need for, what can I say, it's more like in addition to the point of education, there's need for like campaigns, active campaigns, or women to be given opportunities, right? Equal opportunities, maybe even as a trial or what, so that people can actually see for themselves that women are not as bad as they are assumed to be. Like, they should be given equal opportunities. Men should be taught, and those in positions of power should be encouraged to support women who want to venture into elections or presidency, or want to take up powerful positions or positions of influence. So yeah, I think for me that would be like all.
Thank you very much, Anonymous X. Bahleli balalali we have come to the end of the podcast, and I believe as we venture, as we prepare for the next elections, people will be, oh mama, you'll be empowered. You'll be able to stand. You'll be able to know that you can be more than a housewife. You can be what you want to be. Now you are allowed ukungena ku-politics. As a woman, awuphelele kitchen kuphela. There is more that you can do. And women, let's stand up. Let's support each other. Let's be united. Let's help to fix each other's crowns.